Welcome back to my channel, Margaret Knob Designs. It's been a little while since I've been here. I've had some things going on since just before Christmas, and I got a few of my videos and tutorials out, but I am really behind. So I've got a couple smaller projects that I've got coming up, and then I will be starting on some albums. But I wanted to say thank you so much for coming back to check out the channel, and let's take a look at what project I've made. Now this is made with the paper collection called Love is in the Air. It is designed and printed by Country Craft Creations, and this is part of a design team project for Country Craft Creations. It's my second project with this paper collection. The first one I did was on the New Year's Eve weekend, and that's when I made, I think I made another card kit collection for that with a box and everything. So this one is a box which opens like this, and I have this strap on there, and opens like this, and I have 2 packs of cards in here, 3 on each side. The third one for this side we're going to make together. And then we have the pockets right here. And I did not go ahead and cover the inside of this, and you certainly can do that. I thought about actually covering it and putting my pink ribbon underneath the paper collection, but I decided that I was just going to tie them in kind of like love note packages. I thought they were very cute that way. So this was some of the seam binding. This is from Country Craft Creations as well, part of a design team package or leftover from before. And then that just closes up like that. And there is a 1-inch spine, and this is double matted as well. So this is 6 inches here, and this is 4 3/4, and it is double matted. This is the red Artisan Cardstock as the base mat on top of the box itself. And then there is, like I said, the cards. Well, one of the things that I like to do when I make cards, I like to make them individually and trying different patterns and things like that too. But I also like the cards where they talk about them being a one-sheet wonder. And this by no means is probably an original design by me or anything like that, because anything that I'm going to be doing with it has been done before. But what I did for myself is I made up a card template for a 12 by 12 piece of paper. And so this would be for the design paper and how I could maximize the cutting on my 12 by 12 pattern paper. And it always seems to work really well if I use pattern paper that has a really nice, that both the sides are small enough for cards. And we are going to be making A2 size cards, which are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So basically what I would do if I'm going to cut my paper for this template is we start here, and I have where it says cut 1A down. So this is 1A, and this is all the flags down here, and this is 3/4 of an inch. So cut into 2-inch pieces. This is 3/4 by 2. So this is a 3/4 mark here, and these are all 2 inches up here. So then once I cut this piece off, I can cut this rest into 6 2-piece inches. And then I come along here and I cut along the bottom here, and I cut this to here because this has been cut off now. And these are 3.75 or 3 3/4, and it's a 2-inch piece, so I cut the 2-inch piece in half. So it gives me 6 banners for my sentiment. And then for the rest of this, I just need to cut down and in half. And then those are cut at 3 3/4 by 5 inches. So this is going to be one of my paper mats. And what I like to do with a template like this, I usually put it on a piece of my craft cardstock. Like if you can see, this was a One Sheet Wonder that template that I had tried out from before. And I leave the cuts and the information on here. And yes, it probably could be better if I used a smaller piece of paper, but I really like looking at this and knowing exactly how to cut it. And on this one, you can see that I wrote some additional notes on here. So what I did is wrote about the cutting and the scoring, but I also put on here my card folder, what the cuts for that were. So on these cards and on here, I used a 1/8 inch inset to my matting. For the cards, I used a 1/4 inch setting for my mats and my designer paper. You can do whatever you'd like to do as far as going up or down on your matting. It's just really cutting it 1/8 of an inch smaller or 1/4 of an inch smaller or bigger, and you will get your cuts. So let's put together, what I'd like to do is put together one of the cards so you can see what I have and what I've done. And I have my items ready to go on the card. So this card again is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So then I cut this black mat. You can see I cut that at 4 by 5 1/4. 4 by 5 1/4. And then my designer paper mat, which is this cut right here, is 3 3/4 by 5. And then I glued my designer paper on my mat, and then this is going to go right onto my card. And you can see about the wider white edges on it, and that's because I did 1/4 of an inch rather than 1/8 of an inch margin. So let's just get this on. And the other thing is that this is a very simple card, and sometimes it's just nice to have a simple card that you can make. You have simple birthday cards, or thank you cards, or cards that you can make for people for a gift set. Is always really nice to have in your stash. So not everyone has to be extra special. So then what I did is I also took some of the leftover pieces of paper and matted those. And so one of the things that I did, first of all, is I took this piece, and this is the banner piece that was 1 inch by 3 3/4. And this is a designer paper, and then I made this larger one, and I made this mat for this one to be 1 1/4 by 4 inches. And then I took this punch and punched my banner out on both pieces and then glued them together. And one of the things that happened, because I punch on there, I actually could take the punch out paper from this piece and the black from this piece, and I can get a small banner that can go on the inside of my card. So I'm really using as much of the scraps as I possibly can. So then what we're going to do is I'm going to take this piece, and I was either going to put it on here or up here. I didn't really want to cover the airplane, but I think I'm going to have to because of how I've got this set up, but the love will be up there. So we're going to put this right across the card. One of the things that I also like to do is there's a big drop like right between there. So I'm going to cut some extra cardstock just to make it so that it doesn't fold down on me. So I'm going to put this along. You may have seen other people, like I think Christy Marcotte is the one who does this really frequently on her cards. She does such a great job with that on her cards, and so it's nice because then it doesn't make your end of your banner angle downward. It sits much nicer on your card and much more level. So we'll add that then to our card. And I'm by no means a card maker like Christy is. She makes so many cards. I'm amazed at how many she can make off of one 6x6 paper pad, or just the collections that she's had. She's just amazing. So then that goes down like that, going straight across. Here is my sentiment. I stamped this, and I used a 2 1/4 scallop punch and a 2-inch punch for the circle itself, and I just put those together, and then I can either pop these up or I can just put them straight down. And I am going to just put them straight down because for these cards I chose some gems to go on the front of this, and they're a little bit higher, so I am making the decision not to go too much other what do I want to say, depth to it, or what did I do with my pickup stick? Of course, you know, when I'm on camera I can never find what I want. Here it is, it's right in front of me. All right, so let's take this, and I usually try to put the first one down in the middle, and then I can space them out from the middle going out. And these are, I don't remember where I got them from, but they're like almost like a raindrop bauble, they look like. So, and I'm just going to put them here, and these did make putting them into the folder a little bit tighter, only because these have so much dimension to them. I'm not sure if you can see that. So next time I probably wouldn't do that. So with the cards, then we can do one of two things. We can end it like this with nothing up here, or we could take one of our banners, and our banner could go right down here to on the front, or we could use one of the smaller banners up along here to just give it a little bit of an accent. But I am going to for sure I want to do this banner on the inside and this banner underneath here to give us a little bit of the color and dimension on the inside of the card. So let's do that. The nice thing is, again, is just that when you want to make a set of cards, unless, you know, it's just something super special, I like to just be able to make my cards and get them done and not spend an hour on each card I'm making, but I can cut them out. You know, I can cut this whole template out and then cut all my mats and then put everything together, and gives me a cute looking card. So in this one, I think I'm going to use this extra banner, and I'm going to put it right on the front of my card there so that I use as much of my scraps as I have. I think this was just a leftover one. So we're going to put that down right there. And there we go. We've got our card made. And then I paired these with red envelopes in our card box. So, and you can use red or white or whatever color you would prefer. So that fits in there, and then this is going to go right into that box as well. So now that we've gotten our card done, I'd like to show you real quickly how I made the card box and how I put that together. So let's go ahead and score that. And this is on the 10, this sheet is 10.5 by 8.5. So we're going to go back and score this on the 10.5 side. We are going to score at 4 3/4 by 5 3/4. And that's the only scoring we're going to do on that side. And then we're going to turn it to 8.5. And on the 8.5 side, what we're going to do is score it at 6, and then score it at 6.5. And that's going to give us our, not spine, but the pocket for our card box. Now, one of the things that I want to tell you on here, so if I have this box like this, I do have a choice of doing one of two things. I could cut this, let's say, 1/2 of an inch larger, or 3/4 of an inch, probably 3/4 of an inch larger, and then cut away part of this to be able to leave this open. But I have decided to make my hinge a small hinge, so I'm not cutting away all that cardstock and not using it. So then that would make it one continuous piece for the card folder. But we're going to do it a little bit different this time, so we're not cutting away so much cardstock. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to fold our spine, and I'm going to get that scored. And can you see all my hair on my sleeves? I'm so sorry about that. I didn't realize I had quite so much hair on me. I am babysitting a German Shepherd dog for a few months for a friend of ours, and because they're moving and they couldn't have the dog any longer in the apartment. And I love her. She's wonderful. I cannot stand her hair. I'm so glad I don't have a dog with tons of hair, because I would be going nuts if I was faced with this hair all the time. So anyway, so what I've done is I essentially have gone through here and I've scored all the sections. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do just small cuts here. And those small cuts are going to be, I'm going to cut just to the outside of this, of these score marks, so that I can cut this piece away. And now you can use your cutter if you're one of those people that do really well cutting with a trimmer on things like this. I'm not so good at that, so I just use my scissors and say I can only do the best I can do. So we're cutting that away, and then we're just going to cut this as well. And we've got that. So then what we're looking at is we've got our pockets right there. So easy peasy, it's so easy. The next thing that we're going to do is, I'm going to do this ahead of time so I don't forget. I am rounding the outside corners, and I'll round my matting when I get to that as well. And for these sides, I am going to put like a hinge in there. And what I did is I cut my hinges. They are cut at 1.5 by 2.5. I think it's 2.5. Let me make sure I'm right. Yep, it's 1.5 by 2.5, and you'll need 2 of those. You can cut 4 of them if you want to put that to the inside of these pockets as well, but totally up to you. Totally. So what I did with this is I scored on my 1.5 side. I scored in 1/2 inch and then scored at the inch. And then I turned it on the 2.5 inch side, or 2.5 inch side, and I scored it at 1/2 inch. And so this is going to make our hinges for our pockets. So I'm scoring, I've scored those, and then I'm burnishing those down. And then we're going to do a little bit of trimming. So what I'm going to do is cut just on the inside, slightly angling this piece. Again, cutting a slight angle down to that corner. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side because we're going to make, ooh, I'm doing that the wrong way. So through here to the corner, and then we're going to angle this piece to the corner, and we'll pull those off. And then what happens is you have a little hinge here, and then you have the hinges for the side. Now, I did not miter these pieces because I wanted them to sit straight on my pocket. So this hinge is actually going to go in here, and it's going to be our hinge for our pocket. And the way that I put that together is I start off by putting the glue on this small hinge, and I line it up with this section, make sure it's straight, and then I let that dry a little bit. I come back and do my other one. And then I'll cut into that. So this is being done just in time for Valentine's Day. So get out your favorite Valentine collection, or this collection from Country Craft Creations, Love is in the Air. And with the Artisan Cardstock, you can make a really cute card gift box and cards to give to someone special. And again, remember, you don't have to use necessarily Valentine's paper for this box. You could even give a Valentine's gift with note cards that are thank you cards, or a mixture of thank you cards and birthday cards, because it's always nice to get a gift that you can use for other holidays, or other cards for other holidays. So then what I'm doing is I'm just matching up my corners and the edges of my box, and I will pull this part up and match that up so that I get a nice square corner. Going to lay this down and put that in there, and then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Get our glue on here. I know it's nice to have these all together, but I'll tell you, I found that this was nice because I didn't feel like I was cutting a long strip of my black cardstock off. Because sometimes, I like to use up my cardstock as much as possible. And this way, by making these small hinges, I'm using the cutoffs from other projects for my hinge. Oops, didn't get that quite straight. So there we go. That goes in there. Now it's your choice again. You can either put, designer paper on the inside, and I put designer paper along here, double matted that just to make it a little bit thicker. This comes around and comes in, and I ended up, I usually put a ribbon around something like this, or I'll put the band around there that I showed you that I made. The other thing that you can do is if you're putting ribbon, you can put the ribbon right underneath the designer paper here, or if you have the designer paper from the front and the back, you can also do that. And then I just double matted that as well. The other thing that I did is I put a small magnet underneath the designer paper to just help keep that closed. And I used a large magnet on this for keeping this closed. And I did not cover it underneath. And the reason why is because I find that sometimes if I get too much cardstock on there, because of the nice weight of it, it sometimes can be a lot. And this is not something that's going to be a forever box for somebody. If it was a forever box, I would cover everything. But because it's really kind of a gifty item, and you know, they may not even reuse it. They may just, after they use their last card, they may just throw it away. So, you know, I'm not going to worry too much about covering every single little thing. So then you can do your matting, double matting, single matting, whatever way that works best for you. And I will take a picture of my card template. And again, I am not claiming that this card template is my design per se, like no one's ever done it. Somebody could have done it. I don't know. This is just the way it worked out for my cutting, and so I made a template, and anybody can feel free to use it however you like. I don't claim any designs on it. So here we go. So there's our box, our card box, all set and ready to give for our Valentine's Day. And this box is ready to go. I can make another card set. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. I've got another small tutorial that's coming up that is it's going to be really cute. I have not done it before, but I'm sure it'll turn out good because I did it in a bigger size before, and I'll show you how to make that very soon. I'm going to try to get that up by the weekend. So I hope you have a good night. Thanks so much again for joining me, and take care. Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you.